Welcome to the What's Your Truth podcast, the show that not only showcases the best of independent artists, but also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. Today on the show, we have a very special treat. Daniel Lir and Bayou Bennett are not only one of the most powerful partnerships in the movie industry today, they are also one hell of a powerful couple and a shining example of what it is to be truly awesome human beings. Founded in 2007, their production company, Dream Team Directors, brings a true feel-good spirit and fervor into the oft bleak and degraded entertainment industry, and their expansion, but the commensurate attention that it has generated for them has led them to collaborate with the likes of acts and artists including Coldplay, Billy Idol, Oscar nominee Mark Ruffalo, and Golden Globe nominee Anthony Mackie. And then there's the other side of Daniel and Bayou. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever met such sweet, selfless, humble, and just plain amazing people in my life. And I've met some pretty amazing people. The best of friends and the best example of what it is to not only be competent and talented artists, but also personifying what it means to truly be responsible for your impact on the world via your art. I can honestly say that they have inspired me to step up my own game as far as the good that I can do via my own art. And I'm definitely the better for having known these two incredible beings. And from what I hear, Daniel's also one hell of a cook. It's an honor to be able to call them my friends, and it's a pleasure to have them on the show, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Lir and Bayou Bennett.
Johnnie, this is so awesome. When I heard the name of your podcast, I was like, all right, we need to have a conversation. This is good. We need to get into some truth here.
Right on. Well, and fun story about how that even happened. So a friend of mine, a musician, I was in a band with him. He's also one of the people that taught me to produce. And he has this song that he put out a while ago. It's called Truth. And the lyric is in the chorus is, "What's your truth?" And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's a podcast. That's like a question I would want to ask every artist I know. So that's kind of where that actually started from. So I'm glad that resonates.
Yeah, it's like wake up every day with that question. That's a good one.
Seriously. All right, well, let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do this.
Sure.
All right. So first question is, how did you decide that you wanted to become filmmakers?
Wow. Well, I'd say it's probably individual. But you want to start with yours?
No, you can start.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, I tried every single form of expression that was creative and artistic, and I just couldn't find anything that really felt like it worked for me. I tried design, I tried photography, I don't even know how many different things I tried, but in a really low period of my life, I took a film class at Art Center College of Design. And wow, it just really felt like this was the right thing for me. It felt really, really perfect.
Yeah, and I'd say for me, it was interesting because I got my master's of fine arts, and during that journey, I was doing like these huge murals, painting these huge murals that were like with multimedia art, and that's when I got into filmmaking. So like I was doing my own thing, and then we moved to New York, and I'll let you ask the next question, and then.
Yeah, no, totally. You're fine. Talk as much as you like, man. This is all about you guys.
Yeah, cool.
So what was the first experience you remember having with art?
Well, for me, it was interesting because I grew up in a very artistic town. It was actually called Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And it was that town, like really, it really nurtured artists. And the whole town was about art. And so we would have tourists come in the summer and they would buy the art. And it was just a very beautiful community. So I was surrounded by it. And my parents are musicians as well. But I ended up winning the Youngest Artist Award in Arkansas, and in my hometown. I remember that, and I was like, "Yeah, I am an artist." And I think I was 2 or something. Yeah.
Wow. And you, Daniel?
Oh, you know what? No one's ever asked me this question, but I have to say, like, I was around 9 years old, and I was a latchkey kid. You know, my mom was working all the time, and I was at home, and I was watching this movie, and I just started crying. I just really started completely crying because it brought up so much emotion through the character and the storytelling. I think that's actually the first time I really noticed a movie having an impact on me. And I was like, what is character? What is story? And then fast forward later, the one movie that made me really want to be involved in filmmaking, like consciously, I think the most consciously I've ever experienced it is when I watched My Own Private Idaho with Gus Van Sant movie with River Phoenix.
Oh, right on.
And there was something visually about the way that film looked. And I just was like, wow, I actually got like a suede brown jacket at the time, like River, and I was like wearing it, and I just was like, this is what I want to do. I actually wanted to be a set designer because of that film. And then the more I got interested in doing set design, I'm like, well, really, it all starts with the story. It all starts with the vision of the world. And I think that's what a director does. Yeah.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I have not seen that movie yet. It's on my list of ones that I actually need to see. I've heard that's an incredible film.
It really is. It's very powerful. It's very, I think why it's ahead of its time is because it's showing characters and a culture that are not very accepted. It's sort of about like young male gigolos, and it has a character that I don't know the exact term, but he has narcolepsy basically, which means that he can fall asleep at any time. And it just shows this very sort of like underworld of Seattle, which we don't see. And I think that's what Bai and I like to do as filmmakers, is show something that nobody really knows about, and we could take them there with full perceptions and make them feel that world. So I felt like I woke up today, I'm like, Bai, you know what? It was really bold how we shot a movie in a really, really, really emotionally incredibly powerful cemetery in Manila where families live there. And we actually took the audience there through every piece of texture and humanity. And I think that's what successful movies do.
Totally. Wow. And I never really looked at it from quite with that much depth, but that's so true. It's like you said, with full perceptics of everything, as much as you can get without actually being there, you can really give people a glimpse of what it is to experience some part of somebody else's life. That's really powerful.
Yeah, movies are powerful. They really are. Like, and then sometimes I was just the other night, I was like, we got to watch this Jurassic World movie because we had never seen it. And I was like, oh, it's just going to be another big Hollywood action film. But it was so thoughtful. It's like, what happens when you play God and you start changing genetics and you start creating your own life forms, and what are the negative repercussions of that? So I think I respect movies of every genre, and I think we try to watch everything, and the ones that are thoughtful are the ones that resonate the most with us. So therefore, what is your truth? That is very, very, very relevant.
Yeah, because I think art is like in music and film, that I think that it's like completely something that you can like uplift or make people feel or think in some way, and that's what we do every single time. Like, or not even uplift. Like, man, I don't want that to happen to our world, or I don't want it to happen to me or my family or whatever, and then get them to think, well, give them solutions, because that's something that I think that's very important to us, is that we don't just like bring up a really hard subject matter like 6,000 families living in the cemetery in Manila. We then say, okay, well, how can we solve this? What can we do to help them, and how can they help themselves actually as well?
Yeah, 100%. That makes total sense. Like getting people to think solution orientedly at things, even if they haven't happened yet. Like proposing something, this could happen, but what can we do to stop it? I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's like, what is, I think I'm going to use that as our motto. Like, what is your truth? Like, I think it's such an important way to start a project, because I feel artists now have the responsibility, like artists that are really like the ones that are going to lead this world are going to have to step up, and they're going to have to say, okay, well, how can I, be an activist as well as an artist? Because we're in such a difficult spot, I think, humanity wise, that we need to really step up, and we need to involve ourselves in thoughtful, provoking work, but also solution oriented.
Like when we got to work with Mark Ruffalo, that's exactly what he's doing as an artist. He's doing the Hulk, he's playing the Hulk, but then on the other side, he's like, hey, look at what's happening in our hometown of Hollywood, and we got to do something about it. So for us, it's like that's ideal. That's who we are as artists, and when we find other artists like that, we're just like, wow, okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. One thing about truth, Johnnie, you just inspired me, because there's no. Okay. No more, yeah. So like in my dorm room in college, like there were some guys that were very unthoughtful, but like Rage Against the Machine as a band in the early 90s, like really made those guys think, and really made them think about the power structure and caused them to analyze our world. So music and truth, I think they go together really well as film and truth. So you can really wake people up. But the thing is, how do you do it in an entertaining and cool way that's like super popular? That's really the trick.
Yeah, well, and also too, for me, the thing is like doing it in a way where you're not just doing the low hanging fruit thing of just playing off a controversy to try to get people's attention, and really doing something more important than that, which is what I love about you guys, is that you don't I mean, it's on your IMDb. Is you come out right out and say it, and to the world, in a world where everyone is like sex and drugs and violence, you guys don't do that, and
Right.
that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's conscious. It's super conscious because, what's your truth? I don't know what to say.
That's our
Yeah,
turn.
right. Uh-oh, it's becoming a catchphrase now. It's catching on. It's good. So
Oh,
who are the biggest influences on your work and why?
the biggest influences on our work and why? I mean, I think any movie that just really just blows your mind and causes you to go into a world. Like when I applied to film school, I wrote my paper about Train Spotting by Danny Boyle
Oh
because
wow.
I knew nothing about Scotland. I knew nothing about like the world of addiction and this really like culture. It just took me there with the music, and like the music was so like compelling in that film, and the action and the way that he filmed the characters and the bonds between the characters and the accents. Like any movie that takes you somewhere is a movie that is going to blow my mind. Also his film that he did, Danny Boyle, about the Beatles, yesterday, that was a very original and interesting film and a thought-provoking film about truth again,
Yeah.
truth and lie. And I thought that was very interesting. I just there's like those special films like Begin Again with Mark Ruffalo where he plays the music producer. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's a
I
very
have.
special film. You should
Yeah.
check it out.
It's really good.
It's
All
really
right.
good. Like you feel like you're there. It's so natural. The music is being created with the sounds of New York integrated into the music. They're like playing on a roof, and whatever happens to be there is in the recording. It's like those special stories that are thoughtful and not often seen. I think that's what do you feel like?
Yeah, well, for me, it's funny because my first inspiration was Maya Deren, and not very many people know about her. She's like a performance artist and also like filmmaker, and so that was my first inspiration. And then my first inspiration was movies like let's see, like well, I just loved when you would be brought to another world. So that would be like what was some I know there's like many of those I love the fantasy films. So like I would say Tim Burton for sure, but there was The Labyrinth was another one of mine with David Bowie.
Oh
So
yeah.
for me, yeah, it's like those were the films that I was like that changed my life, and I was like I want to do that for other people. I want to take them on a journey that takes them out of this world and puts them into another world, and so that those are my inspirations.
Awesome. And I love that you brought that up too, because that even just going back, it's like those are movies that even they didn't play on all the controversy and stuff. They were just great movies that put you in an experience. And man, what a timeless piece of art.
Exactly.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's so true.
Right on. So what's the weirdest thing that ever inspired you?
Oh, that is such a good question.
I'm making you guys think. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I see. We decided to have these questions for the first time. So we're hearing this for the first time. So we last night we watched like a good movie, and then we watched a bad movie. I have to say,
because you know what MCA from the Beastie Boys taught us, to be a really good filmmaker, you have to study what's really not working in really bad films, and that really very moved me when we saw him during the Tribeca Festival.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then so for us it was what not to do and what to do, because we study that all the time. What is an A-list movie? And I know what it is. I mean, it's a good story, it's a good actor. I mean, it's not good, it's the best story, the best actors, the best crew, the best everything. And so we studied that last night, and we're like, it was like 2 a.m, and we're like analyze why it was not a good movie. I'm not going to say it, but I'm just that is inspiring.
No, totally. That makes 100% sense. That's
Yeah,
sometimes the best lessons are the lessons about what not to do, right?
exactly.
Truly.
Totally. So how has your art influenced other people?
How has our art influenced other people? Well, I would say that we're just like, what I will say is that at the beginning of the project, whatever the project is, we're thinking, how is our work going to inspire other people? What organizations can we get involved with? Where can we show this film that's going to make a difference? How can what kind of audience do we want to impact? Like, we're actually doing a film now. It's a coming of age film, and it has like a landscape of extreme mountain biking. And we like literally have gone and done this whole plan on how we're going to turn this movie into a social change movement. So it's like super conscious.
So in that case, how did we inspire others? Well, yesterday we were talking to a producer and we're like, "How was your birthday?" He's like, "Not good." And we're like, "Oh, so what happened?" He's like, "I missed my birthday dinner because I was at a meeting." And we pitched this idea to him, and it ignited his purpose again. And he was like, "You guys just made my birthday." And then like because yeah, it was so sweet. And then we mentor filmmakers, and I'm looking at the poster. We have this poster of our first film we did together, which was called Text Me, and it was about the texting generation, and it was about 12 years ago, before we became about Facebook and texting and all about social media.
In a big way.
In a big way. And we wrote about this. And one of our students was like, "I saw that film and it was going viral and we were passing it around." And I was like, and then now he's gonna like be in one of our films that we're helping. Yeah. So
he saw the film before he even knew us, and now he's working with us. And then Bayou students were like, you want to tell about how your students felt when they saw Text Me?
Oh yeah, like they're
so yeah, they were like, "Oh my God, Professor Bennett." She was a professor of filmmaking. We do text too much. We don't have human communication. So I feel like the ability of even like a film that's a comedy to cause people to think about their own behavior patterns.
Yeah, and like just the last thing is like when you're in the movie theater and you see your film on the big screen and people are laughing or crying, or their things are happening to them that you wanted them to feel or think, then I think that's the most inspiring, because I think that, and then when they come up to, like, I remember like we were just at the LA Live seeing our film on the big screen, and even the actress, one of the actresses that was in it, she was just like, I was speechless. Like, I was like, oh my God, the film did to me what I wanted to do to others. I wanted everybody's problems to go away and just to be taken away by the aesthetics. And then after we were on the red carpet and we couldn't talk. We were both like, because I'd never seen it that big. And so I was inspired by it. She was inspired by it. We had created it. That was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. So do you guys have any pre-production rituals?
Yeah, I think
production ritual. My God,
that's really good. See, this is why
best questions, hand down.
Yeah,
best questions. Well, what I try to do personally is, when I was at NYU Film School, there was this one professor was talking about a director who would just really like spend time in the location and really try to absorb the location. And I feel like that's really stuck with me. Is really try to live in that world. A lot of the stuff that we're writing is autobiographical, to be honest, or has to do with things that we've personally experienced. So really, like, I was just thinking that to this morning, it's like spending time for certain people in certain times. Like for some people, it's like really late at night, like Tarantino would like used to write all the way into the morning, and then at a certain age, he's changed that. But for me, like, I feel like when I'm first waking up, it's when I lose all of these sort of like limitations and will this work, will it not work, and just can like freely dream. So I think however you can get into that world, for me, becomes a ritual of creativity. I think everyone's different, but like I love like I don't know if you've seen the movie The Fableman by Spielberg. It's really cool because it's an autobiographical film about a filmmaker, and he gets David Lynch to play John Ford, and David Lynch basically told Spielberg, like, he finally agreed to do this role to play this famous director. And he's like, I just want to wear the clothes for 2 weeks before the shoot, like the clothes of the character. And I feel like that, like, I want to wear the clothes of the characters. I want to visit the locations. I want to drive the cars. I want to be there and be them. And I feel like that's how the ritual is, like being, like somehow getting into the world of the characters. Like when we did Text Me, it was like spending time with Matt as like a, 17, 18-year-old kid, like listening to his jokes, like watching his movements, like figuring out what bands he loves, like Magooger Grind, like bands I have no clue about, and just getting into that. You know what I mean? You've got to immerse yourself. I think the immersion is the ritual.
Daniel,
right on.
You said it.
That makes total. That's awesome. Yeah, and I've heard other people, like even actors, like I know when Johnny Depp was doing Public Enemies, he like went to the Dillinger Museum and he like put on some of Dillinger's clothes and stuff, like the pants he was wearing the night he died and stuff like that, and really like immersed himself in John Dillinger, for example. So
yes, I think one of the greatest thing actors do, like, since you're very music focused, like a role for me that I just can't get out of my mind is Val Kilmer in The Doors.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. And I know what that guy did to get into that role, and to like, yeah.
I mean, that is deep.
That was really well. And did you ever hear about his audition and how he got that?
No.
So he went and I mean, he shows up, first of all, I think he showed up at Oliver Stone's place and like mocked up as Jim and like kind of acting like him. But then he also submitted a tape at the time, I think it was a cassette of a bunch of Doors songs that were sung, and he said, you know, can you tell me which ones I sung and which ones were Jim? And they were like, oh, these ones were you and these ones were Jim. And he was like, yeah, I did all of them.
Wow.
Oh my
Like
God.
he became Jim Morrison. It was insane.
Wow.
Yes. That's amazing. So talk about a story of artists and persistence. I heard he was like throwing VHS tapes over Oliver Stone's like wall of his house because he really didn't want him to be in the film initially. And then like he convinced him through just fighting for it.
That and just really being Jim. And I think that was part of it, is he was kind of mocking up Jim Morrison's kind of way. And that's like something Jim would have done. But yeah, he really just immersed himself fully in that role.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And man, did he pull that off. Like, wow.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was able to get out of it.
Well, that was it too, is afterwards, I think it took him some time. And I think that was a strain. There's the documentary Val, and I think he touches on that a little bit. But I've just heard that through the grapevine too. And just, you know, you come across this information. Yeah. It was one of those where he had to get out of the role once he was into it. For sure.
Yeah.
So what risks, if any, have you personally taken for the sake of your craft?
Well, I think money risks.
Sure.
Like text me, we put our own money into that film, but that like blew up our career. So things, you know, sometimes and as an artist, it ebbs and flows. You get a lot of work, you don't, you know, and at that point we learned at early in our relationship and our career that if things are slow, you create. And so we created Text Me because I was noticing my students in the class, you know, texting each other and like not being who they are on Facebook. And we wrote it on being stuck in the airport one day in Chicago in the snow. And we put all our money, all our resources in it. But then it ended up getting into like 15 film festivals and won 6 and played in the Times Square. And it got our management. And so we were like full on. We moved to LA because of that film. And that was that we risked it. You know, we put all everything, all our resources into it, right?
I think we're risking something on every project.
Every project. Oh my God, Danielle has some.
Yeah, I mean, when we did Tombstone Pillow, I was like, I really wanted to do this film because I'm like, I can't let families just live in the cemetery and in poverty, like great poverty, and not do anything about it. Like the story would not go away. It wouldn't go away. I would think about it all the time. And I was like, as it came closer, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to go and shoot a film and like lead a crew and cast of 100 people through a cemetery. Like, and like, there's like sanitary conditions, like total like crash. Like this is a difficult environment to the point where our young actress couldn't even perform because she was so upset by seeing what she saw there. That I kind of like as I started to go to the Philippines, I started to go, oh my God, like what am I getting into? Like, what am I getting into? I started getting sick on the plane, you know, and then when I arrived, I basically had like a cold or something like that, flu, I don't know. And then like I had to direct a movie and you know, make a movie basically while you're ill. And that was hard. And I think like, I'm just not going to watch, like I had watched like Coppola's film about how he made Apocalypse Now, which is called Hearts of Darkness. I think I found that documentary a little bit too interesting. And it sort of maybe manifested that, but it was hard. It was hard. There's a lot of like, I just didn't feel like I was basically making a film where I was ill already in an environment where I could easily get infection or further illness. And it was just like in a really developing nation and just really strong poverty. But I'm just like, you know what? I just was like, okay, this is my purpose. This is why I'm making this film. If someone watches this film and wants to help someone after it, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. You know what I mean? And I went back through Korea. I remember going back through Korea on the way home. And it's like, if you're ill, do not step through here. And like, it was just, the whole thing was sketchy. The whole thing was hard. You know what I mean? But it was like, it was worth it. It was worth it. Like the obstacles were so big on that movie. Were so big, but the freedoms were bigger, way bigger, way bigger. So if you take risks, like I know Francis Ford Coppola basically put up all of his assets to make Apocalypse Now. And his wife was okay with that. And it worked out. You know, I think he won an Academy Award for that, and he made a lot of money off of that, and it really changed his whole career. I don't think every film or every project has to be super risky, where the point where you're going to lose everything, and I don't think that would be a good strategy. But all I know is that when I've seen it personally, the more obstacles there are, the more you stand to gain.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Well, and the more you grow too as an artist, even because
Yeah.
nobody grows from being comfortable, you know?
No, absolutely.
Right on. And then what's the craziest risk you've ever seen another artist take for their craft?
I have an answer for that
Oh,
one.
good.
Okay, so we're friends with this really cool street artist, Plastic Jesus. And you know the story a little bit more than me about the jail.
We know the same. Yeah.
Okay, so what I understood from him is he basically like got himself into jail, right?
Yeah.
Like to be able to make a work about that. Like
Interesting.
willingly became a prisoner.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh no.
Yeah, but he got out. I mean, he's got a beautiful wife and kid now, and he's still he's doing very, very well. We just filmed a documentary on him, and we're gonna I'll announce something soon, some other good news. But
super brave guy.
But he's super brave. Like he's like really
fighting human trafficking.
Yeah, he's like a real superhero on our planet, and that's why we want to do this work about him. So we're super excited. He's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't even imagine that.
I actually wanted to film another movie in the Philippines about the unfair treatment, inhumane treatment of prisoners. You know, they have overcrowded jails there, but I have not worked up the guts to do that one. I think it would just be so very intense. So I got inspired by a story about a woman in Indonesia who is a human rights, activist and didn't believe that criminals should spend the rest of their life in jail. She believed that they could be rehabilitated. And she actually inspired some of the worst criminals to change in jail. And I was like, that would be one hell of a story.
Because, yeah. I mean, just by even telling them, hey, you don't have to do this. Because I mean, I think that's one of the problems with that whole system is it's the constant punishment. It just constantly convinces them that they have no potential worth. And that's kind of the whole reason they're criminals in the first place, probably.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, they need to have more freedoms. And when they get out, they need to be given chances so that they can then prove themselves, so that they can turn around, rather than like making it like extra hard to get a job or extra hard to trust them or all that. Somebody needs to trust them and give them a chance to prove themselves. That's exactly right.
Yeah, no, 100%. So what's one thing about you that would shock everyone to know?
Well, I think most people know we're married. Oh man. Well, just a couple of like quick things. Like we both did martial arts together. I don't know if everyone knows that.
Oh, nice.
We both shocking though.
Oh, I know it. It's shocking to people that don't understand what it is, but should I talk about it as a dancer or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So like when Daniel met me, I was a filmmaker and I was a professor of filmmaking at like Parsons New School, but I was also a dancer, and I fell in love with this culture of the Middle East. And so I was a Middle Eastern professional dancer, and that in New York you can be that. And so there you can like I was a top dancer. Like I would perform for like a 12-piece band at like a Greek restaurant. Yeah, I was like, and then I was the top dancer at a Moroccan restaurant. I was a dancer at another, like all the top venues that were had like real like culture, like the Greek culture or the Moroccan culture. That's I was a top dancer, and I also was on So You Think You Can Dance as and I got through some of the levels, but I also like for me, I was on commercials, and so friends all over the world saw me. So that was a very unusual thing, and it's I don't really talk about it that much because I think one thing about being a filmmaker is that I've had many lifetimes this lifetime. So like being a professor and being in the Middle East, and I actually taught in Jordan, Amman as a young woman and was accepted by that culture.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then I also like that same year I was like in Egypt dancing with my dance troupe and the Middle East, and like I really encompass that. I like there's something about me in that
she
culture.
Transforms into a woman of Arab descent. It's like fascinating. It's really, really amazing.
So that's something that Nobody really knows about me.
I would say one thing that people might not know about me that might be kind of shocking is I witnessed is something that really, really changed me. And I actually shot it in Super 8mm film and in digital, is the falling of the World Trade Center towers. I woke up in the morning and I basically on my rooftop with nothing in the way, just saw the whole thing happen. And then I also went down to volunteer at Ground Zero not long after the towers fell, and got to help some of the rescue workers down there.
Wow.
That was something that definitely changed me. I come from Israel, where we have tragedy after tragedy on a almost weekly basis, and nobody really understands what it's like to be an Israeli and to live under that kind of terrorism. And so I felt like when that 9/11 happened, I feel like the world became, the Western world, especially the United States, became more empathetic to what, what happens in the Middle East. But that, like, I think maybe people don't know that I went down there to volunteer.
Yeah.
I think that was something that was shocking. It was a very shocking, very, very shocking. I literally was preparing for my last 5 minutes of life because I had a phone call, and I heard, like, the person was telling me that the Pentagon had just been bombed, and that someone bombed a plane flew into the World Trade Center. So I'm just like, okay, so now missiles are going to be launched over, to another part of the world. I thought those last 5 minutes, that experience, I feel changed me in a good way, because I think it made me just understand how fragile life can be when you have very evil people with too much power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah. That's intense. I can't even imagine. I know how intense it was for me. That's like our generation's, like, the prior generation was like, everyone knows where they were when they heard Kennedy got shot, for example. Mm-hmm. And that's like our generation's that, where everyone knows where they were, they know what they were doing. And I remember waking up that morning. I was in college at the time, and I turned on the news and I thought I was watching a movie because of what was going on. I was like, there's no, like, what, and just,
it was like a video game, Johnny.
It was insane.
Wow.
It was really it was so surreal, so I can't imagine being where you were physically there watching it. Like,
yeah, when it fell and crumbled, it didn't look real. It didn't look real at all. It just like, it's like, how can something that big just crumble?
Yeah.
It was just like, it just didn't seem believable.
Yeah. No, that's, like I said, I can't even imagine. It was surreal enough on TV. Being there, I can't even imagine. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So what's the one thing or tool that you absolutely cannot live without as an artist, and why?
Tool.
Well, I would say cameras.
Okay, fair.
I would say phone though too. I'm constantly writing ideas in the phone, and like the morning before the podcast, I had a breakthrough on an idea, and I just feel like the ability to, like, be able to lie in bed with your phone and write down ideas, stream of consciousness as they're coming to you, is cool. Or to be able to do an audio recording of something, or for you as a musician, like, you probably hear things, not like where I might see words and dialogue, you might hear sounds. So your ability to just go and play something and just record it into your phone really quick
100%.
before you forget a melody or something. I think that's cool. Yeah, I think there's something really empowering about living in this digital age with phones and communication devices and technology. I feel like there was a lot of barriers to making films early on. You had to pay, like, I remember, like, for a 35mm film, you'd spend $235 just to buy 4 minutes worth of film.
Whoa.
Then you had to develop it. Then you had to transfer it to digital file. There was a lot of money involved, and so I feel like the fact that we can do things even on our phones these days is quite inspiring, or where technology is at, that just these tools become very, very empowering.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's crazy. Like, literally my phone, like, I had no idea what it cost to do that. I know it was not cheap. And, music industry, same thing. It's like to buy, 4 minutes of reel-to-reel tape to record. It was like something crazy like that. And then that was like one song. And if you want to do 10 songs, now you're paying $5,000 just for tape. But yeah, and like my phone now, I can record 8K on my phone. It's the weirdest thing. Like,
yes.
You can literally record cinema quality on your freaking cell phone.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Truly.
So, if you were going to write a book about your career up to this point, what would you title it?
What would I title it? Oh my God.
This is a
Mine
fun
would be
question.
mine would be Many Lifetimes This Lifetime.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
a good title.
Thanks.
Jeez.
I think you should write that book.
Yeah, exactly. I did start to write because I had I had a couple of people wanting to do a movie about me because being a professor and then also a Middle Eastern dancer. Yeah, and then we did start to write that story as a script, but I didn't think about a book. Book could be really good.
Yeah, I think that we will do an autobiographical film like Bayou's life before me, and then Bayou's life as we met at this vegetarian cafe on the Lower East Side, and what we've done together as a couple. I was looking back and I'm like, you know what? What's been the most worth it is not giving up and not, just doing the normal 9 to 5 thing and just putting it all, risking it all.
Yeah.
I think it led to a lot of wonderful, beautiful surprises. And I think that if I would do anything differently, I would go back and I wouldn't get so nervous about the hard times. I think I would just embrace the whole damn thing, like the good and the bad more, and just be like, God, if you're an artist, like if you can just enjoy the ride and the journey and do something that you want to do more than anything, like if you were gone tomorrow, what would you want to do? Like, and do that, then it would really be just the best existence because you're not living a traditional existence as an artist,
No,
Yeah.
you are definitely not.
Yeah.
Not if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans for world domination?
Oh, that's great. I'm glad we let's see. I'd say, well, for me, like I want to get more and more well known. Not to be like the traditional, I just want to be known. I want to be known so that I can inspire others to make change. And like honestly, I really want our films this year. Like I'd have to say that these last 7 days have been like if we're gonna take over the world by making a better world, like we've been given about 5 chances to do that through our work, our filmmaking.
Oh, wow.
And we're about to make some huge changes and some huge just like reaches in our career and us as artists. And I'm so excited because like for me, I've always been that like positive person or positive light for people, like, doesn't matter, like as a young child to high school to college to here. It's just who I've been. Even New York, I would stick out like a sore thumb. Like I would be the one like bopping down the street in pink while everyone else is black. But like I feel like I feel like I've always wanted to bring light and happiness and solutions to people, and I think we're about to do that.
Yeah, on a big scale.
On
I
a
think
big
the
scale.
last week and just sitting here with you here today,
Yeah,
it just feels like there are opportunities. The universe is opening up finally after all the hard work and
that's right.
the building on wins and building on wins and waking up every day,
And working towards this
working
goal.
towards it like in a very methodical way. You know what I mean? Like super, super methodical. I feel like if artists can combine talent with strategy,
And that it's a game. Artists.
Yes.
Yeah, so talent, strategy, and that life is a game. Like those things, like that's because yeah, you're gonna have barriers and freedoms and goals, but you have to get through the barriers. You just have to do it. You have to push through it, and you have to climb that wall or climb under the wall or climb through the wall. Well, you just have to find a solution to get to your goal.
yeah, and find
Yeah.
out what you're best at. I feel like we have come into our own, which will lead to us being able to make the kind of change we want to make. Is that I know that we're a husband and wife team that wants to do thought-provoking social change, highly entertaining work. So every project is like kind of like we're on a mission. You know what I mean? We're on a mission, and what's our truth on every project is the question mark. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I love that. And you're so right about keeping it a game and just pushing through. Because I mean, it is like the barriers, especially the bigger you get, the
Mhm.
barriers do also grow, and it's really just keeping your eye on the freedoms and having them be bigger and more important than whatever the barriers are. And just, keep showing up and persisting is a big part of it. I've observed consistently with people that are doing what they're doing and are good at it.
It's so true. And like I've like lost since we're like on this podcast and we're talking about truth. Like I remember like my biggest failure in life was focusing on what I didn't have. You know, that was like a constant source of unhappiness. And I think when the pandemic happened, I just started waking up every day because I basically like I thought like my career would be lost because I don't know when filmmaking would happen again and all these things. And I was just like, okay, I woke up every morning, I'm like, okay, what am I grateful for? You know, and I found that when I did that, when I just focused on what I have and what I'm grateful for, then it just really changed everything. It changed the whole existence for me. And I just always lead with, okay, well, what's working out? You know what I mean? What am I happy for? What am I excited about? What am I thankful for? Because I feel like when you start putting energy into that, you just realize how wealthy you are.
Right on.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I've met some very like paper wealthy people that are
Yeah.
very, very, very miserable. And I've also met some paper wealthy people that are not. They're very much not, but
And very much on purpose.
very much like purposeful. So I think you could just focus on, you know, what is working and what are you thankful for? What's working out? Like shine light on those, and I think things will go a lot better.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, and it's true. It makes sense. Like the things you put the most your attention on, it's like you're breathing life into things. It's like, do you want to
Yeah.
breathe life into a problem or a solution, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That is so truthful.
100%. So I have one more question for you guys, and just to kind of revisit the introduction that I gave to the show earlier. So again, it's the show's not just about showcasing the best of independent artists. It's about exploring what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as artists to be. So what's your truth?
My truth is that it's time to take responsibility for the world, for all of us artists to, in our own way, in our own unique way, with our own unique vision, to do something that is going to keep this planet and keep humanity here. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with Daniel. But my truth is, it's always been to help people, inspire people to be their best and inspire people to know that there are solutions, and also to inspire artists to recognize how much power they do have. Because I don't care if you're a fine artist musician or filmmaker or whatever, the dancer, you reach, as a dancer, I would reach those people in the room, and I would uplift them, or I'd make them feel in some way. As a professor, I reach the people in the room. And then as a filmmaker, I want to reach the billions on this planet and give them the truth, which we have some amazing projects, like feature film coming out, and a show that we're working on. And those things, to me, is my truth. And my truth is I want to reach the many so that they can be inspired to then find their truth, and then we all come up together as society and make a better world. I mean, I know it sounds kind of big, but I mean, what film do you know, or music change the world? There are those films and music or art that can do that. So that's my goal, is to be that.
Yeah, and like I feel like a common misconception is that like if you look at the Beatles and you look at Rage Against the Machine, they're both cool, but they both changed the world.
And
like,
they had messages.
yeah,
They had messages that but in an artistic way that you could have. And that's what we do with our films. Like, they're not preachy or anything. They just make you have your own realizations, and like, oh, I can go help my neighbor. And during the pandemic, that's what Tombstone Pillow did. It went around the world, and it told people, like, look, these people were living in cemeteries, like, currently, and like they're helping others. Like, that's what you can do, right?
yeah.
That was our goal.
Yeah,
so.
as bad as you think you have it, it's like way worse for someone else. But how do you turn that into power? How do you turn that into like an advanced view of the world and yourself?
Yeah, it's almost like, and how do you come up to like the point where you decide for yourself that something needs to change, and then use that as your fuel even to do whatever you're going to do. I mean, yeah, that's really powerful.
Fuel.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That is like, that word fuel is a very powerful word, I feel.
Yeah, well, it's fueled the generation of energy, which is how we create motion in anything, right?
Yeah.
Huge. That's awesome. Well, guys, oh my God, thank you so much for
This
being
was
on. This
super
was
fascinating.
so
I'm
great.
so inspired.
Yeah, no, me too. It's been a very mutual inspiration thing happening here. This is fun. So before we end off, I did want to take like 60 seconds. If there's anything you guys want to plug, all things Daniel and Bayou, go.
Yeah, well, so this year be watching out for like I mentioned, like a feature film, well, two feature films, and a show that we're super excited to be releasing, and we'll be releasing those soon.
Yeah, you can always
But
follow us on Dream Team Directors. We also have
on Instagram,
on
so Dream
Instagram.
Team Directors on Instagram, Dream Team Directors on
Facebook,
TikTok, and then Dream Team Film on Twitter. And then LinkedIn Bayou Bennett. That's my LinkedIn.
She's the LinkedIn queen. Yeah, I think you're gonna see some really, really great stuff from us this year. And then also on Canyon Star TV, which is a streaming platform, you'll be able to see a show where Bayou and I are interviewing artists about strategies that they've implemented to succeed in their career. Because I think it is really all about strategy and marketing your work well. So
It's called The Dream State.
it's called The Dream State, and just super grateful for being on this podcast. You're an amazing
Yes.
speaker,
Thank you.
amazing host,
Oh my
and
God,
just,
thank you.
Musician.
just an incredible person. So yeah, this is very exciting. Please
Awesome.
please follow us and follow our story and be involved in it.
Yeah, and there will be links in the description below when this gets put up, so people will be able to get to your stuff very easily for sure.
Great. That's wonderful. And we also, our film Time is Eternal is playing all over the world right now. Like it's literally been in Canada and Moscow, Italy.
And we've been in Seattle, and we've been in Los Angeles, and we've been in Croatia and Sarajevo. You can watch Tombstone Pillow on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Tombstone Pillow is on Amazon Prime right now, and then Time is Eternal will eventually be there too. But right now you can see the trailers on dreamteamdirectors.com.
Awesome. And I'll see if I can find the link for the Amazon Prime for Tombstone Pillow and drop that in the comments or in the description as well, so people can get to that.
Awesome, Johnny. Thank you.
Oh, you guys are so welcome. Thank you so much again for being here, guys. This has been the What's Your Truth podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Later.
Later.
Yeah, you follow your own rules and you preach them on to me. But you don't think before you act, and you ain't got no business with me. You know, no. But then what's your truth? Oh, what's your truth? Now you got